My name is James Robinson. I am an EUC workstream lead for a professional services company helping customers on a modern management transition journey. So either from their existing tooling, be it config manager or kind of third party, into the world of cloud and Intune. I'm seeing more and more businesses being less picky about what devices users can get, or having specific areas of the business that might not be running Windows devices. So maybe marketing or design might be running Macs. Well, you've either, if you're coming from config manager, you're either got to have a third-party tool, or just they're kind of rogue and users use them as they want to use them. So Intune being a centralized point where you can manage your Windows stuff, and you can manage your Mac OS and your mobiles, and kind of Chrome OS integration, and hey, we've got some devs that run Linux, and we just want to make sure that they're not doing something totally crazy. Bringing it all into one place is something that people just haven't had, and that's normally another kind of big driver from a consolidation and kind of cost analysis benefit from an organization standpoint as well. You don't have to do it all at once. I think if you're in a co-managed or not, even if you're not in a co-managed state, if you're only on config manager, getting into that co-managed state would be step one. There's a couple of prereqs you've got to get in, but that's then that one bit done. Trying to then get the big value stuff out of that co-managed state. So things like Windows Update for Business. I think I've seen personally and seen kind of in the community that is normally one of the big kind of big value in terms of kind of effort versus reward of getting into that co-managed state and using something like auto patch or configuring Windows Update for Business rings to manage patching. When you have been doing certain things a certain way for so long, they become natural, and things that may be process heavy have become smoother just because they're done so often, but that doesn't mean that that's the right way to do them. So I think some of the things that come up time and time again are a kind of hidden cost of the changes to process. It's just like, okay, right, we do it like this. We need to do it like this. But say your help desk is 50 people. All of those people need to learn that new process, become familiar with the process, see it through every time. There will be bumps in the road, and that has a kind of knock-on time cost, stress cost as well. I think learning new things can be stressful. So that's the kind of people side. This fear of the unknown led us kind of to build both. Right, here's the experience of a cloud native build, and here's the experience of a hybrid build, and just the experience from a user perspective, not even technical perspective. It was instant draw to that cloud native, just because it's so much smoother, and authentication just kind of works. And then you hit things like I've set up Windows Hello, and now I'm getting a prompt to access this file share. Things like Cloud Kerberos Trust is the most beneficial 3 lines of PowerShell you'll ever run in your life, and then suddenly it works, and so you've got the benefits and the user experience of Windows Hello, and you can still access your on-prem file share or your application or whatever. The project started out as an initial POC. It was like, what we want this thing, what can we get? So it was implementing a kind of almost a minimum viable product. Here's a baseline of security settings. Here's some things to make it feel like your organization. And what are the key things to make it work? And that then can feed into the follow-on work that some of which was driven out of that POC, and can kind of give the organization confidence to keep going in that direction. I think there can sometimes be tensions where teams that not too many years ago would have been all one team. It would have been like the IT team, and now you've got your security team and your endpoint team and your infrastructure team and your network team, and they're all working in their own little silos and doing their own thing and not talking, and that is a surefire way to kill a project, to actually try and get this stuff implemented, because you have to look at it as a whole. All of those various teams need to be involved to actually drive things forward, whether it's updating VPN configs, or ensuring that you're not SSL inspecting stuff, or even just security teams understanding the user impact of requiring certain things on their checklist of security frameworks. So I think the things that come up from config manager admins that are reluctant to change are just familiarity with the process. It's labor intensive, but I know how to do it, so it doesn't take me that long. And that time can absolutely be better spent elsewhere. To use an example of patching, you've got to configure however your deployments are and your ADRs, and you've got to make sure that config manager is doing its thing and pulling all of the data down from Microsoft servers, and you've got to make sure that that's distributed out to your DPs, and or you can just get your devices to go and get that stuff from Windows Update for Business. And not have to have this constant churn of process involved just to do something that's actually really simple. And I think some of that is things like patching weren't easy in Windows 7 or Windows XP, and that process has kind of followed and developed from there. And it's when you're familiar in a space, it's kind of difficult to give that up. I think the time saving thing is a bit of a slow burner. It doesn't it's not immediately visible. It's something that because the process is never perfect when you start. It's always going to seem like you've almost taken a step back, because there's a change in these things. But as people get more familiar, and as they kind of subconsciously realize, hey, I seem to have more time in my day, and I'm not feeling as pressured to do all of these things, or I'm able to spend more time ensuring that that our customers, our users are having, are being productive with their jobs, that's it kind of builds over time. So I've certainly seen people in kind of communities saying, like, we did this 9 months ago, and I can't believe we didn't do it sooner. Like it's and it's always really positive to hear when somebody's kind of taken that leap, and gotten such a positive experience from it. That's not to say that it's been without its challenges. It's just how those are kind of approached and dealt with as you move on.